Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by John Donovan and Longhorn Wealth Management Group. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from on this Monday morning, what you're drinking, get your questions in. We've had a little bit of news happen over the weekend. I guess the biggest thing, guys, of course, being that Texas found its running backs coach.
Yeah, Juluke announced on Friday afternoon, a couple hours after we went off air for Coffee and Football, comes to the University of Texas from the University of Florida by way of the city of New Orleans. That reminds me of a Willie Nelson song somewhere in there. In all seriousness, Jerry, high-end recruiter, former high school coach in the New Orleans area, has been not only at Florida, but also LSU and at various other schools. He is considered a elite recruiter, recruited Jaden Ball, for example, out of the Atlanta area to Florida, has also recruited some guys from the state of Louisiana to Florida. What do you think of this pickup for the Longhorns overall?
Yeah, I think Texas needed somebody that had ties to New Orleans for one. See what happens with Frank Wilson and LSU. Needs ties to New Orleans, has recruited the Atlanta area, and has recruited Florida. I think that was very important in this hire. I think they got that done. Where I come out on all the, rainmaker recruiting and all that. NIL's the rainmaker, but I think being able to get your foot in the door is the key nowadays. And he's got, outside of Frank Wilson, he's probably got the second best connections in the New Orleans or even Louisiana area that's going in college recruiting. They both are saying, him and Frank are both St. Aug grads. Juluke was a longtime coach at Edna Carr. By the way, congrats to Bryce Brown winning another state title at Edna Carr, Hayward Howard, all those guys. They beat up on St. Aug in the state title game over the weekend. But again, that experience recruiting in Atlanta, that experience recruiting the state of Florida. So I think you got 3-1 with Juluke, and that's about all you can ask for in recruiting these days, is that he can go into the most talented states outside of the one he's coaching in and can get his foot in the door, and then a major city close to the state where he coaches in that has a lot of talent and can get his foot in every door there. I think that makes it a tremendous hire before anything else happens with Juluke.
And I want to read a super chat real quick, and then I want to play a clip from last night's show. But KD35, I'm the best, says Juluke is a volume recruiter, not just a running backs coach like Choice was. It sounds like something Chad Scott was not to Sark.
I agree with that categorization or characterization. He definitely, look, when Sark made the move last offseason, Tashard Choice took a job late with the Detroit Lions, right? And a lot of guys had already made their decisions for the 2026 football year. Chad Scott came in a little later than most. I think that Stark maybe didn't have all of the choices he wanted in that time frame. Ended up going with Chad Scott. He, I believe, let go of Chad Scott with an idea of exactly what he wanted to do and what he wanted to get out of that hire. And a volume recruiter is a term used for a guy that doesn't just recruit his own position, but also can help with other positions and multiple players in a region. And that is absolutely one of the things that Texas needs, especially, Jerry, you and I talked about this, as players and coaches and recruiting departments morph from just, hey, all we're going to do is recruit 5 stars, to now we have to recruit the whole spectrum of players, from guys that are going to cost the most in NIL possible to guys that might just be regular old scholarship guys, right? You need a volume recruiter that can play into that whole spectrum. Yeah. And I think by getting guys like a Juluke that has a home base, that knows, everything about an area, will help Texas execute against that kind of blueprint or that plan. And I think that's why he is a volume recruiter, but he's also connects really well with the highest of high-end players too. So it's not it's not any one way. It's addressing a multitude of issues at one time.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think the other thing with guys who are extremely well connected, guys in recruiting, is they can help get kids to campus earlier, at a younger age. And I do think, look, while I think 80% of kids right now are making decisions based on NIL, I do still think getting on kids when they're younger that are going to have a chance to be really good players and getting them on campus as early as possible can help you navigate through some of those waters that you have to go through to sign kids now. So I agree with everything Bobby said. And I think he's one of those guys who can – people I think will call him to say, hey, I got a young kid. I want you might want to get this kid on campus, take a look at him. I think that's another value he brings because he is so well liked. Look, I know he had, the little suspension at Florida there, but I talked to people who cover Florida. They loved him. They thought everything said about him from a coaching, recruiting perspectives was tremendous. It's funny. I have a buddy of mine who's a Texas Tech fan who texted me this morning and said, hey, I heard about Jabbar Juluke. Wish he'd have stayed a little longer at Tech. Everybody, everywhere he's been, people have really liked him. I'll tell you what else is interesting, Bobby. What happens if Chad Scott ends up at Florida? Trade those guys.
Oh, boy. If that happens, that would be very interesting.
We'll see what happens.
Well, hey, last night, Jerry, you and Marcus Myers talked to him. By the way, we're going to have Marcus join us here in just a moment. But y'all talked to Derek Cooper, and y'all asked him about Juluke, and he had a little bit to say. So I want to play y'all that clip real quick.
When I got the news, I seen it on Twitter first. I was like, oh, Coach Juluke. Coach Juluke's a great dude. He was recruiting me when he was at Florida. Just a great person. I feel like he's going to mentor me well on and off the field. I just can't wait to, get around him and start learning.
Yeah, so by the way, for those of you who didn't see that, that's on the Sunday Night Longhorn live stream. I think Derek Cooper was on with Marcus Myers and myself for about 15 minutes. Really good interview. He's a sharp kid, man. I mean, I've talked to him a couple of times before in person. He's a really smart kid. Yeah, he actually told us about the back plate, too, that he was wearing that day I was at practice, that you slow as, whatever. Cisco Lies says, love how he researched Ricky Williams. But that's one of the interesting things that just, I think it's just kind of happened, right, Bobby, with the Juluke hire. Because he was at Florida, he had been recruiting Derek Cooper for well over a year, just trying to get him to Florida, even though that really wasn't an option for Derek Cooper in his mind. That was kind of something, a little feather in the cap of Sark on that hire, is that he just happened to have a year-plus relationship recruiting Derek Cooper. So there was a great level of comfort there with Derek Cooper and his mom. And I can say this because I put out Saturday that they had exchanged texts and whatnot, and then Derek gave me some quotes about he was solid, nothing's changed with him post-signing. Juluke did speak with Derek Cooper and his mom over the weekend. And so they've already spoken. So everything is great there. Derek Cooper will move to Austin January 9th or 10th. But again, that full interview is on the Sunday Night Longhorn live stream.
Hey, Jerry, we'll come back and talk about what this could mean also in the portal in a moment. That may be our next big topic here. Next, I want to say thank you to our sponsor, each and every Monday's live stream, brought to you by our friend John Donovan, President, Longhorn Wealth Management Group. John's a proud Texas Ex's Life member whose wife and 6 siblings are all UT grads. It's his family passion for UT that led John to create Longhorn Wealth Management more than 30 years ago and dedicated to providing investment, retirement, insurance, and estate planning services and solutions to Longhorn families and friends across the nation. John was excited by Coach Sark's new running back hire and what it could mean for running back recruiting and in the portal. John's once again offering all OTF fans a free 90-minute private consultation to learn how working with a certified financial planner can help you maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and ensure your legacy. To schedule your own 90-minute private consultation for free, just call the Longhorn Wealth Team, 972-707-4900, or go online, www.longhornwealth.net, to schedule your free consultation appointment now. John says, hook 'em, and happy holidays to all the OTF family. Thanks, John, for your continued sponsorship of On Texas Football. Hey, guys, before we move on, and we said big news, it says Michael Taaffe just declared for the NFL draft. Not surprising. He is not going to play. Before we move on, though, to this other stuff that we need to talk about, I got to say this: some horrible, this international news and national news over the weekend too. And I don't look the stuff going on in Australia, the stuff going on at Brown University. Can you imagine if that happened at a place like Texas? And then I pick up the paper today, or the paper. I read my stuff online like everybody else. And one of my favorite actors / directors of all time is murdered, apparently. And that's Rob Reiner. I mean, what the world, what's the world coming to?
Yeah.
Anyways, I say all that, and I just want to say, if you're thinking about hurting somebody out there, reach out to some people. There are ways to get your get some relief for that. I don't know exactly what it is, but I just hate to see it and hear about it, and it sucks.
Yeah,
that's about all I can say.
Well, let's bring in our weekly Monday guest. By the way, Marcus Myers, I heard you say that you pulled a Blake last night on the show, by the way. I just wanted to mention that, and you're pulling one right now because you're muted, but welcome.
I didn't say anything yet, though. Good morning, Blake. Morning.
How you doing, Marcus?
I'm all right, man. It was a little cold, so I figured I'd have to embody a little hoodie action this morning. It was like 29 or so when I was moving around this morning, so it was a little chilly here in Austin, but all is well.
Hey, Marcus, question for you: coaching changes at the position level. I'm not sure how many you went through with Mac Brown, because like Steve Sarkisian, he keeps a pretty tight-knit group overall. Very few coaching changes by comparison to others. Has had the same coordinators since he even took the job at Texas at all three spots, special teams, offense, and defense. Question for you. What is it like undergoing a coaching change at a position for a player like they are at running back right now?
Actually, Bobby, I went through a lot, man. If you think back, so my freshman year, true freshman year, the year I redshirted, Bull Reese was my linebacker coach and defensive coordinator. Then he retired. We brought in Robinson. Greg Robinson came in next. Greg Robinson came in next. Rest in peace. Linebacker coach, defensive coordinator. Performed really well. Had us top 5 defense in the country. Leaves after that year and is the head coach at Syracuse. So then Chizik came in. That's when they asked me to flip to fullback. I think my first year, Haywood was our coach.
Mike Haywood.
Which I think he was maybe in his second or third year with us. And then in my final year or two, it was Ken Rucker. So it happened to me multiple times. And I think it's just one of those deals where at that time, it probably wasn't as big a deal. And quite frankly, I don't think it's as big of a deal now that the head coach is typically a much bigger thing. Now, granted, a lot of these guys do develop good relationships with, those guys. But ultimately, if you trust your coach, you trust the program, and you're comfortable with the direction that things are going, you just go in and have those conversations like, hey, what is it that you see, for me? What are the ways I can contribute? Is there something you see me needing to do differently? And sometimes it can be a benefit, right? It's a guy that comes in with a fresh set of eyes. Of course, the other side of that coin exists as well, just like, in the corporate space. If a new boss comes in, sometimes they want to have their own people around. So it can work both ways, but I think, in this instance, I really don't see any downside to it. I would imagine that, each of these guys has had a chance to do a little research on them. As you mentioned, a number of them have already had opportunities to speak with him, and his resume kind of speaks for itself. So I think it's something that, each of them probably looks at it as like, hey, I have an opportunity to be productive and, hopefully much more productive than I was in the 2025 season.
And Marcus, the great thing for kids nowadays, and it's funny, Derek Cooper last night was talking about looking up past Texas running backs, right, on YouTube and whatnot.
Yep.
These guys can go to YouTube and search Jabbar Juluke press conference or interviews, and they can pull up and listen to the guy speak when, if he's put in front of the mic or he's mic'd up for a practice. You can actually get to know somebody now in a much different way than, it sounds weird, back when you played. It hasn't been that long ago, but that's just how far advanced we've come nowadays. But I want to ask you this, because I think the fan reaction and player reaction is always totally different.
Sure.
So I think the thought is, like, a lot of times when a coach leaves, everybody's like when the short choice left, everybody's like, oh gosh, all the running backs are going to transfer out, right? But that's very rarely the reality of it. We talk about from the player standpoint. Did players huddle up and say, man, should we stay? Should we go? Or is everybody in their own lane? And like what you said earlier that I thought was spot on. For some guys, they may like it. They say, hey, it's a fresh start, new set of eyes on me.
Yeah, some of these guys have ties to places that he's been, right? Or areas that he's coached. So it's I don't think it's really a matter of anybody huddling up, especially not at the running back position, just because, you're not going to have multiple guys on the field, maybe beyond, one, right? If you're running some kind of 2-back set. But I think it's a bit more of an individual thing. But, again, it's just about trusting the messaging that you're hearing. And then, if it were me in the situation, just trying to get clarity on, hey, what do you see of me as a player? What have you had a chance to observe on film? What are the areas you think, I need to work on? I would be proactive, right? So that, you have an opportunity to start doing that stuff or really honing in on some of those things even before you get into, spring ball itself. So I think it's, for me, I think it's one of those deals where you look at it as kind of like it's a fresh slate to whatever degree. And if you're a guy that's already been here, you got to remind yourself that nothing is given and you still have to go and earn it. If you're a guy that's been wanting to get more playing time, then it's, a welcomed opportunity to have, a different set of eyes on you.
Marcus, I'm trying to think this through a little bit. Texas, with the running backs coach here, obviously wanting to do something in the portal at running back. Trey Wisner has not announced a decision. He is playing in the bowl game at this point. What do you think Texas really needs to do at running back? I mean, Jerry and I have had our opinions. I don't know that we've asked you yours. What kind of running back? Do they need a running back in the portal? What are your bottom line thoughts on that?
I think you do no matter what. I think you need a guy that is already proven, has, what Jerry always calls the body armor. And for me, you need a big explosive back. I think the best teams that we've had have been when we've had guys like that don't necessarily have to have everything perfect, aren't, necessarily somebody that's going to dance, behind the line of scrimmage. And, I think it's just a matter of finding the guy that would be the right fit. Look, I kind of went on a little mini rant last night, Bobby, about, as great as, a prospect Derek Cooper is, for as lofty as his goals are, I hope they all come to fruition. That being said, there's still a learning curve. Every player I've seen, maybe short of Adrian Peterson at that position, has experienced it. And so, for anyone on the outside to assume that just because he's extremely highly rated, he's going to be ready to be a day one starter, I have trouble believing that. Now, is he going to be maybe one of the more pure runners on the team in a similar fashion that, I kind of believe that James Simon is? Absolutely. That being said, there's more to it than just carrying the ball. One of the things I did really enjoy about, how he talked is he talked about how he likes to actually manipulate linebackers. And so as, setting up his runs, pressing the hole, that kind of thing. But I still think it's important you go and get somebody that's proven. I've heard you say this before, Bobby, in years past, an adult in the room, if you will, right? And so I still think that's necessary. And so for me, obviously the easy one would be Jaden Baugh if you could make that happen. But if not, someone of a similar ilk that, is, kind of a violent runner, is explosive, no nonsense, but somebody that has already done it, at this level and isn't somebody that you have to continue to wait a bit on to develop. That way, everything isn't thrust upon a freshman, just off of the top. And then, again, depending on what Wisner decides to do, that could, make that a bit more urgent or not.
Is Wisner's, like, if Wisner was a don't know how to say this because I like Trey so much. He's an outside runner. He is a one cut up, kind of feels the cutback lanes on the outside zone, but he's not a inside zone runner. And Sark does so much stuff on the inside zone. Isn't that like the key piece I think that Texas has been missing when Cedric Baxter got injured in 24? And then this year he just didn't have the juice.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that, and I'm not saying that Texas and Sark couldn't have done better in the run game as is. So
sure,
take that off the schedule. But part of it was they didn't have the dude that's the inside zone runner naturally. Like that's not Trey Wisner's greatest strength.
Yeah.
Don't they need that guy? You said no nonsense. That's is that really what you mean? North and south, gut it out a little bit. Is that?
Yeah,
I mean,
you can see even in the two backs that are in this class, like that's what they both do. I think in the ideal world, Trey was supposed to be a change of pace guy. He ultimately had to kind of build himself into something that he isn't naturally because, Baxter just wasn't able to come back fully healthy from his injury. And that was unfortunate. And to his credit, Trey dealt with his own injuries throughout this season. And so for me, I still felt like he, performed incredibly well, given that he really isn't supposed to be the dude, so to speak, right? I'm sure as a competitor in his mind, obviously he knows, he can do that. But that being said, he's not this 225 sledgehammer of a running back. And so some of those injuries are going to pile up. And he is going to have, the days in which it's going to be a little bit more challenging than if you have somebody that has some more bulk on him. And so I think he's perfectly suited to be, a change of pace, an outside runner, a guy that you can use in the passing game, that you can pair with the guy that is, again, kind of that north and south traditional kind of bigger back. And, again, having watched, I guess, a number of Sark's offenses, dating even back to like his times at Washington and USC, he's always had that. When Alabama was humming, for all the talk of the receivers, he had Najee Harris. I mean, so it's like those are his ideal type of backs in my mind. And when you see the guys that he recruited, both from Derek Cooper and Jet Walker standpoint, like they're both bigger backs that are physical. They're not coming down, at the first guy. They're not, doing a whole lot of moving around. They're making one cut. They're getting their pads behind themselves. So I think it's for me, I think Trey is still a really talented guy. He's given a lot from team. A lot of guys forget he started out, as a wide receiver. I mean, he played a lot of different positions in high school. And so for him to have molded himself into what he did, kudos to him. I just don't think he was ever intended to be the full-time, being able to necessarily take 20, 25 carries a game if you needed him to.
Yeah, he doesn't need to be a 250 carry a year guy.
Right.
To y'all's point, I just looked this up during this conversation for the chat and everybody here. How many running backs of the top 50 rushers in college football actually average 20 carries or more per game? Cam Cook did. That was Jacksonville State, right? Ahmad Harding had 241 carries in 12 games, right at that number. Emmett Johnson at Nebraska. There's 6 guys. Kewan Lacey did 6. Kid at Rutgers did. Kid at Army did, right? But in the P4 level, I believe there was 5 that actually averaged 20 carries per game. It just doesn't happen anymore. You have to have 2 guys. These guys are where I think things have changed. Guys are too big, strong, and fast all over a defense. The pounding you take is so much different now. If those stats tell the story. Jeremiah Love's the best running back in America by far. He had 199 totes this year. 199. Why? Because they wanted to have him healthy for 199 totes. And
he had a really good backup. His backup wasn't bad either.
Yep, and Dennis is going to be drafted. That's what you have to have. You have to have 2 so you can split the carries, or not split the carries, but have enough to keep your number 1 guy healthy, because athletes are too big, strong, and fast that are hitting you consistently now.
Yeah, and I'll be clear, I may be in the minority. I'm a guy that would love to have Trey back, but I just think he has to be willing to understand that he would just be a change of pace guy, and not the one necessarily toting it every down. And I think that not only helps him, but that helps whoever is, 1A to his 1B. I think that helps with his, NFL prospects. That's where I come from on it. I think he's an exceptional talent. It's just his build isn't a Najee Harris build, right? It's not a Bishop Sankey build. Like he's not built in the same manner that some of those guys are. Even at USC, at Lindell and Reggie. Granted, they're two of the best to do it in a tandem like that, but very different types of backs. And so I think he's recruiting some of the guys that he intends to be the future wave of that. And I think Sark will probably still need to go to the portal to get one more of those. And for me, it would be pretty cool if Trey did make it back.
I think Trey, I absolutely would love to. By the way, nobody's turning on Trey.
Yeah, I know.
Let's be clear. The dude is
he's saying. And I took a little issue with the term jag, right? And
who used that? Somebody in the chat?
Yeah, it was in the chat, and
okay.
we went back and forth, and it was fine. But for me, when people use that, to me that's a bit derogatory, right? Like I think it doesn't give him enough credit for what he molded himself into being, and for the times in which he did have to carry the team, and so. I think it's, just one of those deals where whatever he decides, I think it'll be what's best for him. But, selfishly, I would love, for him to come back.
I think every Longhorn fan agrees with you, Marcus, on that.
100%.
He just brings so much juice. I mean, he brings things that you can't quantify, in my opinion. Competitive spirit, willing to practice hard.
Right.
I mean, you can't. How do you quantify that when you're trying to figure out what NIL is worth?
I'll give you even another quick correlation. A guy like that can teach younger guys like a lot of the intangibles. When the year we won it all, Selvin was our starting running back. But as the year was progressing, we got Jamal more and more touches. Who do you think he was at his hip? Jamal was following Selvin and VY everywhere he could. Like he was, like they were trying to have to swat him off because he was trying to soak up so much knowledge. And I think having older players like that maybe aren't always considered like a true bell cow doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. And so I think, it's an opportunity to help younger players learn how to work, how to study film, and what, the standard is for a running back room.
Here's one real quick, Jerry, real quick. I've said it before. Weiser might not have been what we truly needed, but he's always been big enough for big game moments. And another person said that he does the right thing in the right times. Don't forget, 4th and 13 against Arizona State, a running back stepped into the hole and picked up the blitz, and it was Trey Wisner. So there are a lot of aspects to his game that he's improved. I'm sorry, Jerry. Go ahead.
Now, one thing I've said about Wisner this year too is he missed 3 games where you put stats on the board. Else he would have been right at 1,000 yards again. He missed San Jose State, UTEP, and San Houston State. He probably been knocking on the door on 1,000 yards again if he had played in those games. So that's the one thing, because if you look at the stats, he rushed for 597 yards, but he delivers in big games. But he missed the 3 stat rack games. He would have been right knocking on 1,000 yards. He might have been a back-to-back 1,000-yard guy. Is the reality if he hadn't missed those 3 games.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get us derailed there.
Oh no, I love it. This is why it's called a podcast so that we can talk about things like this, Marcus.
Yeah,
you know how it is, buddy. Hey, what did you think of Derek Cooper in that conversation last night as well? For fans?
Man, he was awesome. Like there was a couple of times where I just found myself laughing and saying that, man, that's awesome. And I forgot I'm supposed to be part of this thing. But he was a very impressive young man. We asked him, my girlfriend's son, I had him watching some huddle film with me yesterday, trying to kind of prep for it. And I was like, man, if you had a question to ask him, what would it be? And his exact question was, and I think I maybe remixed it a little bit, but what he told me to ask him was who inspired you to play running back? And I think I asked him, who does he model his game after, and that kind of thing. And he said Derrick Henry. Right. And that was pretty cool to me to hear from a guy that it's not sometimes you think of, these younger players and you think, their pick is going to be whoever's the hottest guy now, right? A Bijan, a Jahmyr Gibbs, but to, look at someone that's had that kind of longevity in the league. And it's somebody that also has got a lot of touches as games went on, he gets stronger and he's been known to, run off away from, defensive backs and linebackers when he gets in the open field. So it was cool to hear that he models his game after that. I think I mentioned as well that, he talked about manipulating linebackers. And, we talked to him, Jerry talked to him a lot about, asked him, hey, what was it like, having played linebacker? How does that help you as a running back? And so he was able to speak to that. I had been watching some of the film. He blocked a punt. And he was like, oh, yeah. I block punts. I've done that, so it was just cool to see that he had a very positive energy about him, was really excited about getting here. And then also has, high standards for himself, but you can tell that he's one of those guys that, like, when he gets on the field, a different, switch gets flipped for him.
Marcus, thank you so much, buddy. We'll see you again on Thursday night, live stream. Got a big weekend of football ahead of us this weekend. A college football playoff start, high school championships to talk about as well. Blake's got a graphic for us to go over that as well. But Marcus, thanks, man. You have a good one, buddy.
All right, y'all too. Hook 'em.
All right, hook 'em. Good thoughts, because Marcus he's been through coaching changes, Jerry.
Yeah.
He knows what it means whenever a new running back coach or position coach comes in, kind of sees that. And then good discussion on Trey Wisner as well. Blake, let's do our ad reads and get on to the next topic, because Michael Taaffe is declared officially for the NFL draft.
That's right. We got a lot more to talk about this morning. But first, I'm going to tell everyone about our friends at AG1. If I can get it to come up, there we go. And AG1 is a daily health drink that combines your multivitamin, pre- and probiotic superfoods and antioxidants into one simple green scoop. It's honestly one of the easiest things I do every morning to support my body. And look, this time of year, it gets busy fast. There's travel, days, the holidays, family stuff, and routines can get thrown off. That's where AG1 helps me stay consistent. I drink it first thing in the morning while I'm getting ready for the day, usually before I have my coffee, and it helps fill common nutrient gaps and supports gut health, which is huge for me when life gets hectic. And AG1 Next Gen has more vitamins and minerals than ever, and it fits perfectly into my daily routine. They've also got multiple flavors now, including the original, citrus, berry, and tropical. Personally, I'm a citrus guy. I think that it tastes the best. And AG1 also has their best offer ever right now. If you head to drinkag1.com/ontexas, you'll get the welcome kit, a morning person hat, a bottle of vitamin D3 plus K2, an AG1 flavor sampler, and you'll even get to try their new sleep supplement, AGZ, for free. That's drinkag1.com/ontexas for $126 in free gifts for new subscribers. I'm telling you, I use it, and you should too. It will help you out big time. And I also want to tell everyone this morning about Aura Frames, because if you're anything like me, every year there's that one person you can never shop for. But this year, I skipped that chaos. I have it covered. Aura Frames was our last-minute lifesaver. We're actually giving them to our in-laws this Christmas because it's the one gift that feels personal. You can preload it with photos before it even ships, add a little message, and it shows up ready to go. You can even keep adding photos and videos from your phone all year long. It's literally unlimited. You just connect the frame with the Aura app and Wi-Fi, and you're all set. And for a limited amount of time, you can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames. They were named #1 by Wirecutter. Just use promo code ONTEXAS at checkout. That's Aura Frames, AURA frames.com, promo code ONTEXAS. This deal is exclusive to listeners. Frames sell out fast, so order it now to get it in time for the holidays and support the show by telling them that OTF sent you. And Jerry, I need you to tell everyone this morning about Hays City Store.
Well, I have two reads for this. The first one I wrote myself. Go there. It's awesome. It's great. You'll love it. All right. That's my read. Now I'll get to Hays City Store, because that was like, I figured the first time I went to Hays City Store, and then Bobby, we did a show there this year. I think it was probably, like when you saw Vince Young play at Del Mar for the first time, you said, yep, that one's got a chance. That was Hays City Store the first time you went. But there are very few restaurants that once you go to, you immediately know how just how special they are. Hayes City Store is one of those places. It's scratch-made Texas comfort food. That's the truth. They've got their famous truck stop enchiladas, award-winning chicken fried steak, homemade desserts, all of it absolutely delicious, all of it from scratch. Great place to go watch college football, basketball, whatever your sport is, NFL playoffs. They have live music 6 nights a week with 50 beer taps, ice cold long nuts, and tasty margaritas. They have 13 TVs alone in their ice house, perfect for those game days. And they have brunch served every Sunday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Hayes City Store is dog friendly, of course, unless you have a Reveille or Georgia Bulldog, leave them at home. And they have a tree net for kids. Maybe you put the dogs in the tree nets if those are those 2 dogs. Join the folks at Hayes City Store and bring your whole crew. For more information, check out the website at hayescitystoretx.com. Hayes City Store, it's uniquely Texas. Obviously, I'm joking about the dogs.
Are you really, though? I don't know if you're really joking. I can't tell.
All right, Bobby. Well,
I think, look, if anybody brings their Reveille to Hayes City Store Saturday, I think it should have to take shots every time Carson Beck throws an interception. See how that dog walks out of Hayes City Store.
Oh, well, look at that. Hey, that's a good one. Hook 'em, guys. Sitting in a deer blind this morning with my 10-year-old boxer. Life is good. That is awesome. I grew up with boxers. We had 2 of them. And Poncho and Clyde were their names. Poncho and Clyde.
Oh, man. Well, as you said a moment ago, Bobby, Michael Taaffe did declare for the NFL draft this morning. That should come as no surprise because he actually accepted his Senior Bowl invite. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday of last week. So expected, but y'all's thoughts?
Look, it was expected. We had mentioned, I guess, on Thursday or Friday that even though he had started practicing earlier in the week, he decided not to practice later in the week. He won the Werfel Trophy, by the way, this past week. Congratulations to him and his family, by the way. Great mom that we've met before, Jerry, down in Houston during one of our remote broadcasts. He is kind of the poster boy of walk-ons of all time at the University of Texas. From walk-on to All-American, did a tremendous job. And, you know, it goes to show just while he's athletic, and I don't want to take anything away from his athleticism or his ability, it's his quickness of decision-making that made him an elite player at times at the University of Texas. And so Michael Taaffe headed off to the NFL officially, will not be playing this weekend. Best of luck to you, buddy. And thank you for all you did for the University of Texas.
Yeah, and I would add, you know, one thing I've always thought about Taaffe is he'll be successful in whatever he does in his life. That's kind of the one thing I've taken away from following him, listening to him, talking to people that know him. He'll just be successful with what he does. And by the way, that's also big what he did because he was part of Westlake State Championship teams, stayed home. He turned down D1 scholarship offers, stayed home, chased his dream, made his dream a reality at the University of Texas. That's why I don't doubt that guy's going to be successful in life and whatever he chooses ultimately to do or wherever his path takes him, because he's shown some really good signs. He's shown some really good signs. Sandman, yes, he did help recruit Arch. So, yeah, you're one of that's a great point, Sandman, you just made. And on the other side of it, let's talk about Diego Pavia.
That's about to say.
Yeah, let's compare him to Diego Pavia.
A very hot topic.
6'7" or like 1 to 100.
You are who you roll with in
life.
life. That's the one thing that's true. And that his actions, and then look, I appreciate his competitiveness. I've said it for 2 years on here. I appreciate what he brought to Vanderbilt, the SEC, in college football. But that crap this weekend was really bad. It was a really bad look for
multiple
Diego
things.
Pavia. And he had, yes, multiple things. It's so bad he had to put out a statement to try to recover from it.
When Johnny Manziel is who you want to pattern yourself after, that's probably a sign of not being going down the right path. When Johnny Manziel himself is saying, "Don't be like me at this age."
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, I'm just gonna, if that's who you pattern yourself after, and the guy's saying, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you other than it really does go to show. I mean, Vanderbilt considers itself this academic institution, highfalutin, yet that's your most famous alumni right now, or your front porch of the university. Doesn't really fit, does it?
No.
Doesn't really fit. And that's not, I'm not a negative on Vanderbilt or anything. It's just at some point you have to say uncle and just stop it, for your own good.
Yeah.
Juxtapose that to what Fernando Mendoza did at the Heisman ceremony, by the way. Complete class act.
Great speech.
Yeah, great. I mean, just
phenomenal speech.
Completely just a class act. Maybe that's one of the reasons he got votes, by the way. Not just his play on the field. You reap what you sow, man. You reap what you sow.
Well, it's been so busy the last week. We really haven't got a chance. I mean, we've talked about Michigan, but we haven't talked about the upcoming game with Michigan. First, I want to take a look at the line. Since the Michigan news came out, that line has definitely moved.
Yeah.
Obviously, 3 points. It opened at 4.5. Texas now a 7.5 point favorite. The matchup predictor from ESPN Analytics give the Horns a 57.4% chance to win. And on top of that, guys, we have a super chat regarding the game. And this one from Reckless Trey says, good morning. Do you think KJ Lacey will get any run in the bowl game? Reckless Trey says he would benefit from the meaningful snaps.
Depends on the score. I mean, job one is to, and I mentioned this yesterday on the message boards because somebody said, oh, we need to play the tight ends, the young tight ends more in this game. Okay. Job one is to win the game.
Yes.
Not to get KJ Lacey or Nick Townsend and Amari Winston reps or Jordan Washington. The job one is to win the game. And I want to say this, Jerry. I mean, what's more important from a losing perspective? 6 starters on defense for Texas or Sharon Moore as your head coach? Texas has lost now 6 starters on its defense, not participating in this bowl game. You really think Sharon Moore, who, by the way, was replaced earlier in the season by the interim because he was on the sidelines dealing with another transgression, do you really think that the line should move up when all that we've learned in the last week is Sharon Moore is gone? Okay, that sounds like upheaval, but really we've done some digging. They haven't really lost anybody on their team at this point, compared to Texas finding out they're going to be without 6 starters on defense. And that's a pretty big hit for Texas. I don't know. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I mean, look, I just think, there is so much chaos going on. And they will have some players opt out, right? They just haven't yet officially. I think there's so much chaos going on. We got to talk about their recruiting a little bit in Texas. Malachi Lee. We put out a report yesterday that about Malachi Lee, definitely looking at the potential of trying to get released from his LOI. I'm not saying it's happened yet, but the potential of it. But a lot of Michigan commitments from that class are thinking about that. Already have. And there's some big news coming out right now. But let's see what happens. There's so much chaos going on in around the Michigan program right now. It's really going to be hard to predict what that looks like. And the other thing with them is it's a rumorville, right? And I'm not stating it as fact. But everybody thinks that Bryce Underwood may go in the portal. What if he jumps in the portal in the next 4 or 5, 6 days, right before a bowl game? There's so much chaos going on at Michigan right now. It's hard to actually be able to say or know what that's actually going to look like for them on December 31st.
Hey, and by woo during the middle of all of that, and I apologize, Jerry, for
No.
doing that. DJ Lagway
That was
is entering the transfer portal. The starter at Florida for the last 2 years is entering the transfer portal. So when they come to Austin in 2026, not only is there going to be a new head coach, there's going to be a new quarterback. The other question that leads me to believe is, what about the running back?
Yeah.
If they're doing a complete redo right now from head coach to quarterback, what does that all mean? What does that all mean? That is crazy. What?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. DJ Lagway, that's a shockwave because Florida doesn't lose players. The thought is Florida doesn't lose players.
They don't want to lose.
They don't want to lose. Well, did they not care to lose him?
No.
Interesting.
This was expected for me. Speaking of somebody that covers Florida, I don't think it was in the cards for him to return. And look, DJ Lagway has not played well. I mean, he's got 20 touchdowns and 20 interceptions against Power 4 teams in his 2 years. He has not been a high-level quarterback. He has struggled more times than he's looked good. And he's been often injured, the shoulder, then the leg. Shoulder should have had a surgery coming out of high school, didn't. But it's not like he didn't have talented players around him at Florida on offense. I mean, he's had Jaden Baugh 2 years. He's had Dallas Wilson. They had 2 NFL picks at wide receiver last year. They're going to have multiple offensive linemen drafted. He has not been as good as expected. So that leads me down the path with DJ Lagway. And people are throwing out A&M, LSU, all these places. Let's see who wants him at what price. I mean, because the reality is, you think Indiana's going to take him?
No, they like a different type.
I mean, and he just hasn't been – maybe year 3 as a starter is it for him. But after 2, it hasn't been what was expected at all. 20 touchdowns, 20 interceptions against P4 teams is not winning football.
I bet he ends up someplace like University of Houston. Go down to the Big 12 a little bit, try to get a little bit of your faculties back. He was seeing ghosts at times this season, to your point. Now, maybe that's because he was injured or what have you, but that is a big news because Texas 2026, the Longhorns host Florida. They're going to be a brand new looking team.
Yeah.
Period. So we'll see what that means.
Yeah. So but what else that does mean is Florida will be a heavy competitor at quarterback in the portal. Now, they do like Tramel Jones, the freshman. They do like that kid, from what I've heard. And he was hurt when he played at the same high school, Jamie French. He was hurt his senior year, the broken leg. So missed all but I think one of his games his senior year. They flipped him from FSU, but still we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see who goes in the portal at quarterback and where some of those guys go.
Big news there. On Malachi Lee, going back to him, the 6'6", 320-pound tackle, Jerry, out of Kamehameha High School, signed with Michigan. Okay, Sharon Moore is the head coach, but he's also a former offensive lineman. Lee said that was one of the reasons why he chose the Wolverines in the first place. And he's potentially going back on the market. Texas has had success, by the way, with former Michigan players or Michigan signees. Xavier Worthy turned out to be pretty good. First-round draft pick after signing with Michigan initially and getting released from his letter of intent. Do we know if he's going to if Lee would be released from his national letter of intent or if he would have to go in the portal in January? Do we know that yet?
I think the only way you have to go into the portal if you want to release is if the school tries to fight you on your release. Then you just go right into the portal. And that's why it's hard for a university to hold a kid to his national letter of intent now, because the kid can just say, okay, fine, I'll just go in the portal. And then there's nothing they can do about it. So that's why you don't see colleges, to me, fighting to keep a kid in a letter of intent which makes you then the next question is, why do you even have them anymore? Because it doesn't really matter. Why are kids signing them anymore? Well, they do it because of NIL, but it doesn't really hold you to anything like it used to. So you can't really fight those anymore. So I don't think it will come the portal. I don't think we've seen that situation, Bobby, from a kid that wanted out of a letter of intent that a university said, nope, not happening. Because then they can just go to the portal and it's the same result. So I don't think that will happen. Maybe it's the first time it does. We'll see. And we're not saying 1,000% Malachi Lee is doing this, but we know there's thought. And if he does it, Texas was the one school that was recruiting him all the way to signing day, talking to them the night before signing day, was still on the phone with him.
You know what? That ties in a little bit of that. This Michigan talk too. Kalen DeBoer came out with a statement over the weekend. The Alabama head coach saying, "I'm not interested in any other jobs.
Yeah.
I've got the one I want." And
he did visit Alabama officially.
What's that?
Well, Lee did visit Alabama officially. That was one of his 4.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm just wondering if there's an interplay there at some level. But if DeBoer is staying at Alabama, who does Michigan go after?
Well, and Kenny Dillingham, that was real, but he's staying at Arizona State. Now, all this is subject to change, right?
Yeah.
But apparently, that was serious. That one was very serious. But apparently, as of today, he's staying at Arizona State. Can it change? It can always change. But if Dillingham and DeBoer are out, that's a really good question. Where does Michigan go? Somebody says Drinkwitz in the chat. Well, maybe. I don't know.
Matt Patricia.
Yeah. That'd be a smart hire. That'd be a good one. Somebody said Kyle Whittingham. I'm interested to see what Whittingham does. That was just weird that Stuart Mandel put out the tweet after that.
Yes.
Like, oh, he's not retiring. I was like, okay, that's interesting. It's not like he's just throwing that out there. Somebody literally told him that. So that'll be interesting to see if he does anything else, Whittingham.
Maybe he just wanted to hand over the reins to Morgan Scalley as long-term assistant and then still go coach somewhere else, but he thought it was time to do his assistant a solid.
Somebody's saying Jed Fish. Would you go for – Jed Fish has done it really well at Arizona and Washington, by the way. He was also on Harbaugh's staff. Do they want to break away from that totally? I don't know.
I don't think Michigan's going Brian Kelly, and I don't think they go Jed Fish. Not Jimbo either. People are saying all this. Hey, good question here from D. Lewins. Did Taaffe have another option? He was out of eligibility. This is accurate. What he and Trey Moore have announced in the last couple of days here, because Trey Moore, I think, did it on Friday, right, Jerry?
Yeah.
They're announcing that they're foregoing the bowl game, essentially, and going to get ready for the NFL draft. So that's the other option, D. Lewins. And so that's all that they're saying in this.
Yeah. By the way, somebody in the chat, I want to give the chat credit. I saw it just as a zip by. Said maybe DJ Lagway to Baylor. Interesting. Dad played there. Lost their quarterback, graduated. That one actually, and we're not saying it's happened. That actually makes some sense. If you end up being right, I'll remember that.
It does make sense. I mentioned Houston, very similar programs.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Let's take a look at the Texas high school football state games.
Yes.
The lineup is set. We'll start here with 1 through 3A. And in 1A, we have Rankin versus Gordon for Division 1, Jayton versus Richland Springs for Division 2. Gordon, by the way, 3 players with Division 1 offers in 6-man football. That's insane. Class 2A.
Are you serious?
Bobby,
hey, time out. Gordon has 3 kids as a 6-man team.
Yep.
They have 3 kids that have Division 1 offers.
Yep.
I mean, there are years when the entire 6-man category does not have a single offer.
Yeah, there's multiple years in a row where they don't.
And you're saying one 6A team or 6-man team has 3?
Yep. One of them's committed to Air Force. I can't remember or one of them I think is only a junior, and the other senior he's committed somewhere too, but I can't remember where off the top of my head.
Wow.
I mean, they're smaller Division I, but regardless,
Right.
Yeah.
amazing.
So you're picking Rankin, Blake?
yeah.
Hey, if anybody on this show or in the chat picks Joaquin, I'll never talk to you again. In D2. In D1, 2AD1. If anybody picks Joaquin over Hamilton, we'll never talk again. So I'm just putting that out there. By the way, 3A, Yoakum put up 73 in the state semi. Newton, I think, put up 74 in the semi. I wish they were playing each other, but it doesn't work that way because everybody's got a division inside a division. So Newton, Blake, Newton has to be a heavy favorite, right?
They are a 4-point favorite
in the Pavia poll, in the Carl Pavia poll. What about Yoakum?
Yoakum, I do not know. I only asked Carl about a couple of them yesterday. I didn't want to bug him too much, but I went and saw Wall in person versus Gunner on Friday night. And yeah, Wall looked very good. Don't get me wrong, but they are going to have their hands full with Newton, and Newton's a young team.
Yeah. Then the next round, the 4As, 5As, 6As.
Yeah. And how about this? Before we even get into what's happening in 4A, 5A, and 6A, the number one team all went down this past weekend. So Carthage, Aledo, South Lake Carroll all lost over.
Not Carthage.
Not Carthage.
Not Carthage. I'm sorry. Not Salina.
Not Carthage. Gonna be mad at you.
Salina. Yeah, Salina. Yeah. Sorry, C's, But 4A, you got Stephenville versus Kilgore, Carthage versus West Orange Stark, and then Frisco Lone Star and Smithson Valley in 5A, along with South Oak Cliff and Richmond Randall. And then in 6A, it's yet again Duncanville versus North Shore, and then DeSoto versus C.E. King.
Interesting. Stephenville, Salina had a lot going on off the field this year. Stephenville beat Salina. Stephenville, quarterback, running back, I think 3 or top 4 receivers are all underclassmen. Big win over Salina, obviously state championship game. Bring your hard hat. Kilgore's going to hit you hard. Kilgore's a very physical football team, talented in their own right. Carthage, West Orange, Stark. I know we have a lot of guys from Orange, Golden Triangle. I don't like your chances. Scott Srod should win state championship number 11 this weekend. And the question I have, will that be his last state championship as a high school coach? We'll see. Frisco, Lone Star, Smithson Valley. If you watch that game, sophomore quarterback at Lone Star is tremendous. They have a ton of speed on that team, great skill. Smithson Valley, the junior quarterback, a guy Texas is looking at, Knutson. Larry Hill, one of the legendary coaches in the state, coached a long time. Then you get to the Houston versus Dallases. Really, South Oak Cliff, Randall, Callis Williams, obviously having a great year at running back, one of the top junior running backs in the country. South Oak Cliff, watch the left tackle, Brian Swanson. I don't care where he's ranked. Just know that he's way up there for the Longhorns in recruiting. He was actually the first offer, I think, in that class on the offensive line. And then Duncanville, North Shore, they have to play every other year. So why do we even play high school football anymore? And look, North Shore they were 2 losses headed to the state championship game this year. Duncanville lost to Waxahachie District, but North Shore, and then in the playoffs, it's Ridge Point's year to beat them there, 11-0. Nope, got smoked. Then we got down to Dickinson, John Snelson, really good coach. It's their year. Somebody's going to beat North Shore. Nope, got smoked. Then North Shore smoked Lake Travis over the weekend. I may have had 1 first down late in that game. DeSoto, C.E. King. C.E. King, neighboring school of North Shore, has some of the fastest players in the state, that area right there. That's why North Shore doesn't really have Duncanville talent. North Shore not quite as talented as they have been because some kids have gone to C.E. King. So both of those schools are now playing for a state championship. Duncanville, DeSoto, obviously very close to each other as well, have great history playing each other. So Houston versus Dallas, Houston, Dallas, who y'all got the last 3 games?
The only other lines I have right now, Stephenville is a 1-point favorite, and Hamilton back in 2A is a 6-point favorite. So my son's girlfriend goes to Hamilton, so I got to root for them.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Harry Gamilton.
Yep.
I just want to say this about Scott Surratt, Jerry, Carthage head coach. We are hearing murmurs that this might be his last run at a state title. He may be with his son now headed off to college, he also might be headed off to college for a job. We'll release that information if and when it becomes necessary, I guess.
Yeah. Hell of a coach.
He's not wanting that to be the story prior to this game.
Hell of a coach. How many coaches, if he wins this weekend, well, whether he wins or not, leaves high school football, if he does, with more state championships than playoff losses? I just think about that. That's like one of those amazing stats. I think right now he's got 10 state titles and 8 playoff losses.
No.
Man.
That's insane. Okay, Bobby, I tell you what, we need you to do a couple of ad reads for us.
Let's start with Warby Parker. I've been wearing these ever since I got them. They are just tremendous glasses, and you can do it all from the comfort of your home. Give them your prescription, and they'll do it all. If you're like me, when it comes to eyewear, you need a high-quality, easy solution that's also affordable. That's why I use Warby Parker. Easy, affordable, and the selection just can't be beat. Glasses start at $95 and include prescription lenses with anti-reflective, scratch-resistant coatings. Add a pair, and you save an additional 15% when you purchase 2 or more prescription pairs of glasses or sunglasses. Free shipping and 30-day returns. Warby Parker has more than 300 locations across the country. If you don't want to do it online, to help you find your next pair of glasses, you can also head over to warbyparker.com/ontexas right now to try on any pair virtually. It's a really cool feature. That's warbyparker.com/ontexas. warbyparker.com/ontexas. Again, really, really good website and very easy to use. Try it out. warbyparker.com/ontexas. Vaughn Lane, we talked about them as well. As the holidays draw near, travel season is officially here. But it doesn't have to be stressful. If you're heading to Austin for Christmas or New Year's, Vaughn Lane makes getting there easy. They also make it easy getting to places around the state of Texas: Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Fort Worth, Plano, the Woodlands, as well as in the Deep South, Nashville, Memphis, Atlanta, and Knoxville. You'll board in minutes at a hotel terminal located just minutes from your final destination and settle into one of just 22 oversized seats. More space, more comfort, no crowds. Enjoy Wi-Fi, snacks, beverages, and hot towel service on every trip. And on select routes, savor complimentary meal service delivered right to your seat. Vaughn Lane takes the grind out of regional travel so you can focus on what really matters: the people and experiences waiting at the end of the ride. Book today at vaughnlane.com. Use code OTF25 for $20 off your first ride. Again, don't let it be stressful. Vaughn Lane, your private jet on wheels. Do not get in that TSA line if you don't have to at the airport. Use vaughnlane.com.
And then I need to tell everyone this morning about Prize Picks as well, because we make decisions daily. But on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. And it's simple. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get those picks right, you can cash in, win up to 2,000 times your money. And it's the absolute best way to get in on the sports action in more than 40 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and, of course, right here in the great state of Texas. And for the college football playoffs, I have Dante Moore to have more than 1.5 passing touchdowns, John Mateer to throw an interception, and Miami wide receiver Malachi Toney to have more than 69.5 receiving yards. You can come join me on those picks or make your own in less than 60 seconds. Turn your sports opinions into real money. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code ONTEXAS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, code ONTEXAS will get you $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And that's Prize Picks, where it's good to be right.
Hey, I want to hit on something real quick. Srod Baker, there's been so much talk about him. The running back, junior running back at DeSoto, who was not a starter last year because Myson Johnson was there. Then he moved back to East St. Louis for his junior season. One of the best prospects in the country up at East St. Louis. Is Texas going after Srod Baker at all? We'll see. Look, he had no big offers until the playoffs. I think he rushed for 200 and something yards last year, right around there. He had no big offers until the playoffs. He does not have an SEC offer to this point. Obviously, some SEC schools will offer him in January when they get out and about. Ohio State offered him yesterday. Look, and I remind everybody, it doesn't mean every offer is committable, but some of the offers he picked up recently last week, TCU, SMU, Texas Tech, Iowa, I think, all offered him last week. So it's picking up. He's going to have a ton of offers. Doesn't mean he's going to fit everybody scheme-wise or what they're looking for at running back. Really good football player. Really happy for the kid. I mean, goes from not being a starter to having the great run in the playoffs as he has. But somebody's asking, is Texas going to offer him more? I mean, look, Jabbar Juluke just got here. I'm sure he's looking at a lot of guys right now. I posted a story yesterday on TexasFootball.com about some of the backs he'd offered while at Florida. And I think there's one of those kids that's tremendous. But he's out in South Carolina, so we'll see if they still recruit him.
We have a couple of other super chats regarding recruiting, high school football, that type of thing. Desert Stroh says helmet sticker, the North Shore defense.
Yeah.
And then Matt Hanley, thank you for your super chat as well, says, good morning, gentlemen. Jerry, DFW is unquestioned the top recruiting hotbed, but back in the 2000s, Houston was the top area. Do you ever see that swing back? Hook 'em.
Well, it's interesting. I think the thing for me when traveling around is DFW. Yes, both cities have great skill, fast football players. I think DFW has bigger guys right now on the offensive and defensive front. Now, I could argue that Houston may have watered down some of their high schools having too many high schools. And so there's not enough linemen to go around. Where in Dallas, there may be some schools with some higher enrollments. Like if Fort Bend started building a school every 2,300 students, essentially, back in the day, you're not going to have enough linemen to go around. DFW has bigger guys as a whole. If you go to Duncanville, just think about those offensive lines they have. Like even North Shore, not as big as they once were on the offensive line. Like some of those teams were David Amon in the early 2000s. They had some multiple 3, 4, D1, 6'4", 300-pound offensive linemen. Back then, probably 280. And that's the biggest difference I see right now is, and it shows up in basketball too, just taller, longer guys in DFW versus Houston. In football, I see more bigger guys on the offensive and defensive lines as a whole. And I think that is a major difference because everybody has skill in this state. In Houston or Dallas, everybody has speed. But it's really on the offensive and defensive lines of size that is the difference for me right now. And they have more of them.
I want to say this too. Dallas has always been, I would never say that Houston has been better than Dallas every single year. And I've been covering recruiting for 35 plus years. What has happened over the last 30 years, and I would say this, it used to be when I would go up and cover Dallas and the Metroplex from a recruiting perspective, Fort Worth and Dallas were two distinct areas. Now with the mid-cities and exploded when I first started covering recruiting, I think Arlington had 85,000 people.
Yeah.
What's it at now? Like 500,000 more? I don't even know.
Yeah.
How many? So what's happened in DFW, Houston always was this big landmass that's kind of grown into itself, whereas DFW is truly a metroplex now. There's no different. You could go from Dallas to Fort Worth, and used to be there would be places that would not look like they were developed. Now it's just filled in. And so I think you look at Dallas, Fort Worth as you consider Aledo part of the metroplex from now. Aledo used to be a country town, guys.
Yeah.
It was not considered, in my opinion, part of the metroplex. 30 years later, it is. I mean, so I think that's happened. And so it's encompassed more people. And because of that, I think the numbers are skewed a little bit towards Dallas. But I will say this, great players come from everywhere. They come from Houston. They come from Dallas. They come from Hooks. Yeah. They come from Tyler. They come from El Paso, Amarillo, you name it. anywhere. But Gordon apparently in 6A football has 3 Division I players, which is just nuts to me. But my thought process on this is that the difference today and 30 years ago is that Dallas-Fort Worth has truly grown into one being, whereas Houston has just kind of evolved out and kind of filled in its places. And so now there's more people in DFW as a whole too.
I would say from a pure talent standpoint too, I-20 along DFW from Wilmer Hutchins to North Crowley is the second most talented area in the country to Atlanta. You can just drive up to I-20, drive up 45 from Houston, start at Wilmer Hutchins, and work every school through Cedar Hill, all those schools along that line. Get through Mansfield, get to North Crowley, and Alito's even a little west of there. But you can roll through all those schools. I think it's the second most talented area in the country now to Atlanta. I mean, there's a ton, and it's football and basketball. They're covering 2 sports there right now. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And it's population growth. Atlanta's had a population boom as well. I think the still Dade Broward from a skill standpoint can stack up with anybody in the country down in Florida, anybody. But I think when you combine the size of dudes, the skill of dudes, the quarterbacks, the everything, those areas are elite. Yes, Frank Duclet. That area has a lot of East Texas transplants. That's true. That is true.
Something else about that Gordon team, Bobby. They had a hard time finding opponents to play them. So Carl actually arranged for them to play 11-man football, and they won both games. 11-man as well.
Where is Gordon?
I think it's off of I-20, kind of near me, if I remember correctly. I don't think it's too far from me. Let me look real quick.
When you say me, you mean Comanche?
Comanche, yeah. Palo Pinto County is where it is. I'm trying to go out. Kind of, yeah. A little, so taking I-20 west past Brock, but before you get to Eastland. So out in the middle of nowhere, basically. Oh, man. All right. Joshy Manning, thank you for the super chat. A little Joe Z catching strays here in the chat, in addition to the 2 Georgia players who got arrested this weekend. I can confirm Joe Z was also arrested. But not true for those that don't know.
He must have stole a snow shovel to get out of his driveway.
Oh, thank you for that, Joshy Manning. Appreciate it. And let's see here. We got time for just another couple of questions. TJ wants to know, did James Simon redshirt or did he play too many games?
Ooh, I think he may have redshirted. We'd have to go back and double check that for you. CJ has kept a list of that for us. Let me ask him, and I'll get you that answer tomorrow. And we'll get it. But I don't think he carried the ball in more than 4 games. By the way,
3.
Okay. And by the way, I want to add this real quick. A lot of people always ask this. Do freshmen that play in this game, in this bowl game, do they lose their red shirt opportunity? Bowl games do not count towards red shirts. They changed that rule 3 or 4 years ago. So if a player plays, there's no impact on their eligibility or their eligibility for a redshirt year in this coming up game against Michigan.
And let's see here.
And by the way, with Cedric Baxter gone, you would think James Simon going to get some carries.
We have a question from Millwright. He wants to know, how is Jabbar as a developer?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't been like, how much do you really develop Jaden Ball?
Yeah.
I mean, how much do you really he looked pretty good to me. But that's something I don't think people really know until you have them on your staff and really see what they came in with versus how they left.
Yeah.
I would say that much. It's a good question. I'd love to know the answer, but you can't. I don't know.
And Bobby, before we get to our last one, I'm going to let you tell everyone one more time about John Donovan and Longhorn Wealth Management Group.
Absolutely. Thanks to John, President, Longhorn Wealth Management, proud Texas Exes Life member. John served for 15 years as a Dallas, Texas Exes chapter board member. He's now helping lead the build out of the Collin County Exes chapter. John also continues to serve his fellow Longhorns as a certified financial planner. John's offering a free 90-minute private consultation to all OTF fans to help them learn how you can maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and ensure your legacy. Schedule your free 90-minute private consultation today with John. Call the Longhorn Wealth Team, 972-707-4900, or go online, www.longhornwealth.net, to schedule your free consultation today. John hopes we can get Malachi Lee from Michigan to beef up our offensive line haul from the recent signing class. And John sends a holiday hook'em to all the OTF family. Thanks to John for sponsoring Monday's Coffee and Football all year long. Appreciate him very, very much.
Hey, Blake, can I bring one thing up real quick? Because
Go ahead.
Antoine brought this up last night. We didn't have time to get to it. And I did want to bring it up because it does factor in the SEC next year. South Carolina hired Kendall Briles, Randy Clements from Baylor, and Stan Drayton. Kentucky got UTSA wide receiver coach Joe Price, used to be at North Shore. Really good dude. And there's been reports that Lenoris Sellers is going to return to South Carolina. And I think that was Pete Thamel that put that out. Somebody in the chat tell me if I'm mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that came from Thamel, ESPN side. I think Kendall Briles is probably a really good fit for Lenoris Sellers in his final. Randy Clements, they got to get work done in the portal on the offensive line to give Sellers a chance, though. And just some movement in the SEC that I think is impactful in Sellers coming back to South Carolina.
Kendall Briles has coached a Heisman winning quarterback before in Robert Griffin.
Yep.
See what he can do.
Yep.
A little bit tougher road to hoe in the SEC.
Yep.
All right, we got a super chat before we get out of here. This one from Rocky P. How are players already committing in the portal?
So I would love to know what players you're talking about having committed.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything. I was looking.
Like the one that's committed, one of them that has committed actually didn't go in the portal. He just received his release from the university.
Yeah.
That's the tight end from Montana.
Yeah.
That was committed to Michigan, got his release, committed to Tech. That's not he didn't go through the portal to do that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't seen that. And I don't think you will really see it until January 2nd. And I would say this, they would have to commit, but they couldn't be talking to the universities themselves. It'd have to be their agents until the open period. Only one I've seen, and this is from Marcus, only one I've seen reported committed is the Oklahoma State interior offensive lineman to TCU. I haven't seen it. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he's just going strictly through his agent. Totally possible.
Did we lose Bobby?
I think I'd want to talk to my position coach.
Yeah.
Before I committed somewhere.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football, presented by John Donovan and Longhorn Wealth Management Group. Want to thank John, along with AG1, Aura Frames, Prize Picks, Warby Parker, Vaughn Lane, and Hayes City Store for sponsoring today's show. Of course, thank you all for tuning in as well. Bobby, what's later?
Later today, we've got a couple of different programs coming up. Jeff House, CJ Vogel, going to talk a little portal action, as well as the team getting ready for the Citrus Bowl. Tonight, Srod Baker will be hosting alongside Coach Shipley and CJ, talking a little Longhorn football, as well as taking your questions with any breaking news that comes up. Also, want to make sure people know that they can get the latest on recruiting if they visit us at ontexasfootball.com. Jerry put out some news and notes over the weekend, not only on running backs that Jabbar Juluke had offered at the University of Florida, but also breaking some news on Malachi Lee, the big offensive lineman from Honolulu. Join the discussion at ontexasfootball.com. If you've never subscribed before, we have a first-time user, a first-time subscriber Promo code OTFOG. That's OTFOG.
You know, we had a busy show. I'm going to leave with this. We had a busy show today. Volleyball team, tough loss yesterday. Nebraska upset, obviously, huge upset. They're proving once again it's hard to carry number one and undefeated all year long. That's still a difficult task. 2, congrats to Vic and the women. Sorry. 35-point win over Baylor, and the most telling stat in that game, which always leads to a blowout. If you have 7 turnovers and the opponent has 30, you are winning in a blowout fashion. And the thing is, people have asked in the chat, like, maybe you can get this answer, or maybe you know it. Bree Preston, Aaliyah Crump, any known news on when they will be available to retake the court for the Horns, because they're playing not even full strength right now. But 7 turnovers to 30, that equals blowouts in basketball.
So I can tell you, I'm not going to name names, but I can tell you that some of those are getting close to a return.
Yeah, good.
So,
and there's no
tough loss for Jared Elliott. Tough loss for Jared Elliott yesterday.
Yeah.
I watched that. Wisconsin just looked like the better team yesterday in volleyball.
Yeah. Well, we will be back tomorrow morning. We hope you have an outstanding day today. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.